Today I have this, what is it, Siglent SDG830 function arbitrary waveform generator. Supposedly this thing powers up but hasn't been tested beyond that, so it might even work with a bit of luck. And I did have a quick look online, and it looks like these are still available from eBay for about $400. I only paid about a tenth of that, so hopefully it does work or can be got going. But yeah, you never know with these people whether it does a lot. I've got green lights by the look of it, so the buttons are lighting up. I don't see any display though, but whether we have to do something else. Yeah, well, it doesn't look like we've got an LCD display. Does it have a contrast or anything? I don't see anything. So maybe it's got no display or something. Output arbitrary ramp square. No, it doesn't look like. Got a USB port. I guess we can check. It makes a little bit of a squeal when it shuts down, but that's just the switch remote shutting off, I guess. Can't tell if there's a backlight. Doesn't look like anything's lit there. So maybe the backlight's out. I guess the first thing to do will be hook the crow up and see if we've actually got a signal coming out of this thing. That would be the obvious first test, see if it's at least outputting a signal, so at least we know some of it's running then. And I'm not seeing anything so far. What are we on? ×1. No, I don't think we're doing anything. Well, these two must be some sort of menu buttons. No, I don't think it does much. Well, that's a shame. But not surprising. So really all it does is come up with some LEDs on the front and nothing else. So not particularly useful. Now, how do we get into this thing, I wondered? I reckon that old bit's going to slide off maybe. At a guess. If we take that screw out and the ones on the back, maybe. That's how most of them work. But, you know, maybe I'm missing something here and you have to press something else. I don't think it'll be that simple though. Well, that bit comes off, and now I'd say this bit will hopefully slide off. Something's moving a little bit. Maybe not. Has it got a speaker in there, or is it just, oh, it'll be a fan probably, I guess. Oh, yeah, you just got to push on the back panel and it's starting to come, but I still... We need to do something with these handles. Alright, we've got partial sliding off. I don't think this handle's going to come off. Shouldn't do. Have to pull it out a bit, do we? Well, that doesn't do anything much. Do I need to remove this back cover maybe? Something's making a weird noise in there. Very weird noise. Oh, the other option is, can we get the back off and see if we can see anything? Worth a look. Hopefully there's not the power transformer or something hanging off it. Oh, one thing I didn't do was check that USB for voltage, but anyway. That's not so important at the moment. But I've got those new USB plugs, so I guess I should have a good chance to test them out and see if the 5-volt line is there. Let's hope that's, I think it's circuit board mounted. It doesn't seem to be coming loose or anything. That didn't come. Yeah, not a lot in there. Hopefully we can I don't know if I should unplug that USB here. What's holding that up? It is the handles. Oh, do they have to be turned a certain way? That's what it is. The key is there's a key on them by the look of it, but I can't see where the actual key goes. Where's the slot to get it off? Maybe you've got to come right around the front. Somewhere. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so you've got to go to that position. Okay. Not surprised at something like that. Bingo. That's why I took the back off, to see if there's anything obvious like that. Well, I don't see any bulgy electrodes yet in the power supply. We do have some surface mount caps. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much with this if it has a fault on the main board, but then who knows, it could be, like I say, something to do with the backlight or one of these little power supplies. What are these? Are they little relays? Little NEC somethings? Japan UD2-4 or something? Don't know why, they just remind me of relays, but whether they are, could be anything. Well, we've got plenty of rails to check by the look of it. I have no idea what any of them are meant to be, but possibly those little regulator ICs will give us some idea what's supposed to come out. And we're on. I've turned off the PowerPoint. That doesn't help. Let's have a quick play. I'd say that's ground, but I guess we'll soon find out. Can I connect to those, or do I have to go down the sides? We have -7. I reckon the black is the ground. Am I safer to go to that? We've got a red and a yellow, which might be 12 and 5 if it's anything like a computer. 7 volts. 21 volts. -23 volts. So a bit of a random assortment there. Let's have a look at some of these regulators. The problem is I don't know what is ground. I'll say that is the ground. Probably better off measuring to the board ground if possible. I think that's labelled there. Let's say 3 volts or something. 14 ground, 21 nothing, -15. What's the tab got on it? -23. So that must be a -15 rail. Oh yeah, I can see -15 on that cap, right on that pin there, I think. I thought I saw a 5 or a 3 volt there. Oh, maybe it's 15 volt. Yeah, 15 volt. That's down to 14.7 or something, but I think that's good enough. That was what was coming out of there. We got 14.74 -15.23. This should be our +5 volt, which it is. Not surprisingly, we've got LEDs lit up. That's -5 volt. Yeah, that's labelled on that cap. Plus and -5, plus and -15. Well, that's not looking too promising. What else can we actually check here? Oh, wait, we've got a... I can see there's going to say there's another little sort of regulator thing here. Ooh. Oh, is it meant to be... Is it 1.2 or 12? Because there is 1.2. I think it actually says 1.2. Oh, it does. Yeah, oh well. I thought we'd had a dud rail there, but it is roughly 1.2, 1.181. That's pretty good. So do we have anything fusible resistors or any weird things, or do we just have a dead microprocessor or something around there? Who knows? Got some resistors. Oh yeah, one of these FV3, FV1, FV4. Where do they go? That's the switch. don't know what an FV is. Let's open the circuit. Yeah, I don't think they're fusible things. Well, that's no good. Do we have any sort of protection in here for anything? Surely there'd be something. Made in China, Siglent, all rights reserved. So maybe I was better off putting the money towards a new one. What's that thing? A diode. Might have to see if I can find any service info online anywhere. Now, what's it say? It just says display connector. Can't see anything. There's just a mains fuse and that's it, I think. But no, if all those rails are there, so it could be in the main board shot somewhere by the look of it. Don't know how old these things are, but oh, we've got some sort of, is that a card slot I think there? Take that out, we can really see it. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of mini SD or something type connector. But other than that, I'm pretty much... Well, is that actually one thing? I wonder if they're just... Are those lights meant to... They seem to backlight everything, I guess. So you don't really... I guess you don't... They're just a backlight. That's all it seems to be running, but the backlight would just feed. I was going to check the. Oh, so we'd have 5 volt on the SD. No, not the SD. The. Where did I put those connectors? Now I've moved everything. I don't know where anything is. We'd have 5 volt on the USB. More than likely that's going to be working. Which one is it? The second one in, and the bottom one, I think. Nope, nothing there. Sure it's not the end one. What? Oh yeah, that's right, that was ground. Yeah, I don't see no 5 volts there, that's interesting. 1 volts DC. That's weird if there's 5 volts on the main board. Where did I see that 5? It was plus and minus 5 volts here somewhere. There's another SD on the back here. So that should have something similar on it. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Well, I could explain a lot, but why? Where was our 5 volt? It was minus 5 volt, it was positive there, I think. Plus 5 volt. Goes to this diode. Should it come out the other side maybe? That's minus 5. Plus 5, what on earth are they doing here? Why would you have a diode with both voltages on it? And nothing on the other pin? I can't actually see where else that rail goes. That's some little IC. Yeah, that's your minus 5. Plus 5. It must go somewhere else. Where does it get onto the main board? Minus 5. Well, we got all these plated through things, I guess. There is one there. This just doesn't seem to even have much in the way of plated through connections. Is the one next to that? There's 2, I think, next to that diode. Interesting. Though I still have no idea how the 5 volts gets up to that display. Could be anywhere, I guess, because it's got to go up through this connector, I think. Oh, is that the connector? Oh, is that the connector, the USB there? Oh, of course it is. Oh yeah, USB host or whatever. Nothing. Yeah, now you get into risky territory of shorting something out to test it. Could someone have done something on the USB and blown the board? Like blowing something on the board that feeds the USB socket and caused loss of 5 volts or other things. I certainly wasn't expecting that not to work, but there you go. That's why I check everything. Because you don't have much to work with these things. And another 3 pins there, see if I can connect to them without shorting anything out. Just check we've still got 5 volt measurement. Nothing, 0.4 volts, that's probably the one. Just at a guess, it's the fact it's got a small voltage on there might be enough. I don't know if I'm getting that at the other end. I guess what I can do, another beauty about having this connector is I can find out which one of those pins is the 5 volt from the USB. Second one, so that's the second one there, so which, I guess the next question is which one does it actually connect to on the main board? I think I'll just put the plug back in rather than trying to connect onto the end of that little edge connector thing, because it's near impossible. That's it there. So it goes to that resistor, it goes to a capacitor, it goes to that FV4 thing, whatever that's supposed to be. I still don't know what an FV is. Almost looks like it's got a band on it, like it's a diode or something, but well, maybe it is a diode. Yeah, they all measure like diodes. Tell you, I'm just thinking you need a multimeter probe with some sort of switch on it so you can just hold them in place and change the polarity. Rather than having to keep swapping them back and forwards. So that might be where the diode was forward biased that way, wasn't it? So a 5 volt probably comes from the other side of that diode, or it's supposed to. Nothing. Question is, where does that diode connect to? Because this is going to be double or multi-layered board, double-sided or multi-layered, and stuff is going to go everywhere. I mean, what's this little chip here do? It almost looks like it feeds in there. But that might be something to do with the USB data line or something, I guess. Oh, we've got 5 volts there. Whether that's a rail though or some other signal. So there's only one pin in that chip's got any voltage on it. That seems a bit unlikely to be the case. That could be like a data line or something coming from somewhere else, who knows though. So we've got all these other chips. It's quite a large cap there. That's the negative, so I doubt that'll have any voltage on it. What's the other side? Oh, it says 2.5 volts. Oh yeah, 2.5 volts, so that's working, whatever that is. God, yeah, where do you go without a circuit? So most of this display line comes across to that big chip there, which almost looks like a Texas Instrument. I think it is a Texas Instrument, isn't it? AN. It wouldn't be an AN because that's a Matsushita, I think. AM 3352BZCZ60. I think that's the chip ID number or type number. What's this little bugger here? Can't read a thing. I can barely read most of these laser etch things. I don't think that's even got a number on it, to be honest. If it does, it's very hard to read. In fact, most of these chips, oh yeah, those do have something. That's a 74HC. Looks like a 4051 or something. That doesn't sound right. Oh yeah, if you read it there, 74HC4051D, I think it is. So's that other one. These 8-pin chips and small little dip packages, you can't read anything on them. Possibly on purpose. That one does have something on it, but God. At least I can see there's writing on some of them. That's a DAC 904E. That other one though definitely has lettering on it, but oh, interesting. If you get the light at the right level, you can suddenly read it magically. Texas Instruments D8580 1 maybe. 85801, I think that's what that is. Yeah, that's weird. You can't read it at the other angle. Yeah, some of those 7.4 chips, when the light's on a certain angle, there's nothing. Oh, now I can read this other chip a bit. Sort of. Jeez, that's hard to... Oh, now it's suddenly in focus. It's a, I don't know what that symbol is, 2026A 1YM or something, I208. One YM1208 or 2026A. Well, that's not really getting me anywhere. No idea, I might even pull that board out for a better look. It's got some tape holding the connector in. God, bloody Chinese always have to do something, don't they? Might as well see if there's any components on the other side or anything, you never know. Might be something there that's obvious. It doesn't have any fans in it, maybe it needed them. Maybe it runs too hot. No, the chips feel warm at the moment. Oh, I've got to be careful of that USB port. Might disconnect that again. Come on. Maybe get rid of the power. Yeah, there are a few components underneath, that's for sure. Some more F of E things there. That's the connector for the other USB port. Yeah, there's definitely a card slot of some sort on it. Diodes, transistors, resistors, capacitors, etc. Oh, what are those? It says resistors, 51X on them. Resistors.
like some weird little resistor array or something. Well, several of them. RP2s.
Various diodes and other stuff. Let's get this out in the light a bit more and see what we see. Now, what does that little circuit do? Did I check that? Some other little power supply thing there. I checked this other one, that's the 1.2 volt out. I'm not seeing anything saying... 5 volt. That's a 5430 Ti 454 ZNFFG4. So that could be another power supply that's died. So it should be plus 5 volt there. Yeah, that's definitely one thing. Of course, one thing I haven't checked. U5 is that a little chip. 1.1 volt there, 1.1 volt on that, 1.5 volt on a little test point there. So I guess we better check them as well. So that was definitely worth pulling to bits because I can actually see it a bit better now. Let's just check over here. Looks like that diode feeds into another diode. Comes up that line, it goes way over here somewhere and then just straight onto the board. We checked that 1.5 I think, and it's 1.1, so 1.5, 1.1, oh no we didn't check all them I don't think. Okay, so we've got another, what did I say we got here? Connectors in the way. 5 volts on that capacitor, diode. That chip looks kind of cooked, but is it? Doesn't look like it was soldered the best either. Like as in not placed on the board the best. Has that been hot? Compared to the other chips, the legs look very dark coloured. Maybe it's nothing. Even that regulator doesn't look the best. Which one's that? The -5 I think. Yeah, hard to say, but I must admit that chip not the greatest looking, so I must have a voltage coming in here from one of these connectors here through that diode into the chip on that corner. 5 volts comes out of, which pin does it come out of? The chip. Yeah, so there's a little IC down there under this connector a bit, and we've got a U21 I think it is, and it does look like it's been a little hot, but that might just be the colour of the pins of the IC. But it comes through, it looks like from the power connector through a big diode there, or relatively big, into one pin of it, and then I think coming out of the chopper transformer thing there, we should have 5 volts up on this top corner between the blue transformer there and the capacitor there, which probably no one can see a thing, but I'll have a quick check of that and then we can have a closer look if there is anything wrong with that part of the board. Oh, I'm a moron. Didn't plug the board back in, did I? A bit of a splat there from a charged cap. Now we're back in business. Let's see. We still connected to ground, probably not. I probably should put one of those screws in, I think. Or maybe more than one of them, because I should turn the power off before I do that, but anyway, too late now. Well, we'll just check see if we've got a ground reference on the chassis here. We should have -5 there. Yep. And 5 there, I think. Yeah, that bit there was for 5 volts. So I just assumed that was the main 5 volt, but well, it probably is the main 5 volt, but it's not the only 5 volt. Ah, we've got 5 volts there. Huh. So much for that. And I did notice a couple of test points here. What have I got? 1.2, I think. 1.5. And should be another 1.2 there. If I can make a connection to it. Weird, it was coming up a bit, but there it is. So we've got 5 volts there. Yeah, well that's kind of, I thought that would be faulty for sure. So why is nothing connected to that? Sure, the USB isn't switched or something, but you wouldn't know, would you? And of course, being a multi-layer board, you've got no idea of anything, so I might see if I can find out any information on this thing, because I don't fancy running around in circles too much on it. Okay, well, I had a look online and even found a service manual for this thing, but it doesn't really tell you anything. There's not a proper service manual at all, more an instruction book with a few mentions of test points to check here. It did show one more voltage, another 2.5 on that cap there. I think that's the only one I haven't checked. I may have checked it even, but the other thing I just noticed when I was looking there, it looks like there's a little LED on the board there, but not sure about that. Got our lights back up. The other thing I don't know is why do we not have a backlight is the other thing. But let's just check this one more test point here. Just check we are hooked up. -5. There should be a 2.5 on that cap by the look of it. Yep. Is that an LED? I don't know what that is. But it's probably not much you can do other than get a whole new main board for the thing. Because it looks like the power supplies are working, all the little power supplies within the board are working. And looks like this is Elector magazine did an article on this back in 2016, so it's not the latest model. Looks like some people still have them for sale, but other places it's been discontinued. So could that USB voltage run the backlight as well? Or have I actually, yeah, have I disconnected more than just the USB connector? I might pull this front panel and have a look. I've kind of got to know now. Something's coming loose by the look of it. It seems to, oops, that connector actually just popped out at the other end. This one going in there, so that's, I probably should have taken that cable tie off and disconnected that. Yeah, that does just go to the USB socket by the look of it. So whether we need microprocessor or something to tell this thing to light up, or whether it's on the same 5 volts that is missing on the USB potentially, or what, I've got no idea. I guess we could pull this board off the front and see what the hell we got here. But it's not looking too hopeful for this thing. They're the same screws, yeah, I think they're the same as the ones that hold the front panel to the case. So I was wondering, is that front display bit is separate to this board by the look of it, but yeah, they've tied all these connectors in place by the look of it. Now what have we got on here? There is a knob, isn't there? Take that off. And that board should be loose, I think. What on earth is going on there? What is that? Don't know, is it anything? Weird sort of marking thing it's got on there. I think it's just to do with something from the factory, almost like something was meant to be soldered on there. Made in China, all rights reserved. So we've got LEDs under here that obviously work. They are called LED, so whatever that other thing is, I don't think there's an LED on the main board. Yeah, so the display is powered off or whatever. Do I see a separate connector there or something? Not sure what I see. It's like an extra two little wires come out and then stick onto the back of the main ribbon cable, I think, which may be the backlighting. That's the USB port. This is just going to have your little, what do they call that stuff? I can't remember what they call that flat backlighting material. It's been so long since I've even thought about it. The stuff they used in the early laptop computers and stuff was just a sheet of flat plastic stuff that lit up. Oh, you can push it from the other side. Oh, everything's falling to bits. I think Elector magazine was saying something about the display. It's got this, yeah, it's a rather interesting bit of glass. It's not just a clear bit. And that bracket comes off. And that's our display by the look of it. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get any sight of anything on that. But like I say, I don't know whether the backlight should come on or whether the computer tells it to come on. We've got LEDs and that's about it by the look of it. That doesn't look to be doing a single thing. So I think we're digitally dead somewhere on the main board. I think it did give you a couple of waveforms to check as well in the manual. I'm guessing that little connector there is what goes to the backlight. But we can't really get to it to measure it, I don't think, so not much I can do with that. Oops, I put fingerprints all over it. Always got to be careful to watch you don't do that. But I'll wipe that off in a second. But yeah, I don't think... Oh, I'm going to say, do we have a beeper in this thing to give us audio? There is something. Whether that's meant to beep when you press the keys. So we're not even getting to that point. What do they use as a clock in this thing? I don't see, unless... I don't even know what those NEC things are, but you'd think there'd be a crystal or some sort in here to run. But I don't think there's much more I can do with that, unfortunately. Other than put it back together. And I could try emailing them, I guess, and see if those boards are still available. And what price they are, because I mean, if it's reasonably expensive, it's not going to be worth doing for me. So what have we got here? Some sort of RAM chip or something? Samsung, bound to be RAM if it's a Samsung. 48 1G1646. That's your Texas Instruments. Whether it's a real one or not, who knows.
We've got an Altera Cyclone 4 EP4CE10F17C8, made in Malaysia. I don't know what that 4-pinning thing is. Was I reading that the wrong way around maybe? It's an 809Z1, I think that's what it is. I think I was reading it backwards as a something 608, because you can basically read it either way, that one. Yeah, it's still seeing nothing though, any value as far as repairing it goes. I'm pretty sure I did check every test point that's in the service manual. Other than I think you were meant to check a couple of points for oscillation or something, whether that gives you any indication. But I'd say this isn't doing anything basically. I did give the caps a quick check on this board, other than this one over here measuring slightly higher. Everything seems fine. I've just let it run for a little bit, and the only chip I can feel warming up is this, I think it's that Texas Instrument one. Must be the main processor or something. That one, I guess that's the one that feeds into the display and stuff, and that is getting warm. Not overly so, the rest of them are just stone cold. But yeah, it's not running particularly hot or anything. Nothing else seems to be getting hot, none of the regulators or anything. So I'd say that chip is active. Whether it's good active or bad active, I don't know, but there's definitely power getting into there somewhere. But nothing else other than the LEDs running. So I think other than getting a whole new main board for this thing, there's not a lot I can do with it. But I might even see if I can get a price on one. Don't think we're likely to have any ripple problems or anything coming out of the power supply. It's possible or something like that, but most likely something in this digital section has died, and probably is most likely something to do with that microprocessor, you would think, because nothing's coming up. But yeah, it's a bit odd that that little power section there doesn't seem to, only has 1.5 volts on one side and nothing on the other. I did try and chase the 5 volt line from the USB port by basically just getting the multimeter on that pin or on the connector in the front here, and going along all the pins on these chips, which most of them would be 3.3 volts anyway, and I couldn't find it connected to anything, which is a bit odd, but it may well be switched by a transistor or something. Who knows what they've done. But part of the problem with this modern stuff is, yeah, there's not even much 5 volt rail running around it anymore. But it's kind of odd, it's got that one little power supply and another 5 volt up here, but maybe the 5 volt here is just stepped down to 3.3 or whatever. Well, we don't actually have any 3.3 even, I don't think. It's either 2.5 or 1.2. So it certainly runs on some lower voltages than even the sort of later computers by the look of it. Which I'm not sure, maybe the later computers have gone down below the 3.3 now. But I think that's about all I can do with this. Oh, that is getting reasonably warm now. So maybe there's a fault in that processor. It would kind of make sense. You'd think if that was getting overly hot, it would be pulling on the voltage rail and making the power supply hot somewhere, but doesn't seem to be. But yeah, that may well be something up with that chip, or maybe that's just how it normally runs and it's running perfectly fine. There's some other issue. But that's about all I can do with that thing. I think it was worth a try. But yeah, like I say, a lot of this modern stuff, if it's not something obvious, you're just up for a new board, not a lot you can do to fix it really. So I'll leave it at that for now, I think. Thanks for watching.